Welcome to another amazing Sweetwater All Access workshop. Tonight we have the incredible Doyle Dykes. So, not yet. Also want to thank all the folks at home that are watching via the webcast, and we're really excited to bring that to our customer base nationwide, even all around the world, in fact. So that's really exciting. I want to take an opportunity to thank our great partners at Guild Guitars for bringing Doyle in. I'm a Guild guitar fan. I'm sure we have some out there as well. Amazing instruments. Yes, we have a couple of fans here. And I'm going to introduce a gentleman from Guild to talk a little bit about that and their relationship with Doyle, and also introduce Doyle. So without further ado, please welcome to the stage Mr. Ronny Mancuso.
Thanks, Dad. How are you tonight? That's good. That's very good. I'm excited. Guild Guitars has always been a big part of what I do acoustically. I've been a big fan of Guild, for many, many years. And to be able to work for Guild is a real experience. It's been a joy. Doyle tonight, I've had the pleasure of knowing Doyle now for a year, working together with him, doing events like these workshops and clinics and things in different parts of the country. And what I can tell you is that I'm really hoping that tonight you just open up, don't be shy, because when it's time to ask questions, it's not often that you get a chance to, really, interact with somebody like Doyle. He's a great man, a great friend, a fantastic musician. I was once told that, you're going to hear a lot of sounds, rushing sounds, and, sounds from that you can't just pin, or pinpoint. And I can tell you, listening to Doyle, you're going to hear his heart, the grace, the hope, the joy, everything that's in that music. And I just wanted to soak in with you tonight. But make sure that you open up, ask questions when it's time, and really react to what Doyle does and what he does best. And it's my pleasure to introduce Doyle Dykes.
Thanks so much. Great to be here with you. How are you tonight? I started playing this little medley of songs when I was just a teenager. Oh, I've put a few extra chords here and there, but it's still the same medley, same songs, and they mean more to me today than they ever have before. finished where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the faithful lightning of his terrible swift sword, and his truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Sing with me. Glory, glory. Oh. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Again. Glory, hallelujah. Loud. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth. For Chet. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. One more time, everybody. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. Remember our troops every day. Thanks very much. I love playing those songs, and so meaningful. I was talking to a friend that is from Jacksonville, Florida. Years ago, I wrote this song in my garage. Not this one. It's my intro. I call it Bubba music. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. I love to get along, pick my fingers to the bone. Hope that God is patting his foot on the throne. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. With these 6 little strings, I'm gonna do my thing. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. It's just me and my Gill guitar. I love to get along, pick my fingers to the bone. Hope that God is patting his foot on the throne. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. With these 6 little strings, I'm gonna do my thing. Me and Jesus, me and Jesus. It's just me and my Gill guitar. Me and Jesus, me and Jesus. Me and Jesus and my old guitar. Now, here we go. What you fried picking? Yum, yum. I still like Batman. He's all right. That's for the guys, here's for the girls. For the ladies. Batman. Yeah, Betty. We're going to have fun. They asked me how long I was going to go. I don't know how many hours y'all want to stay here, but I go. I've always been I've been able to outpick people's abilities to sit for years, so we won't go there. It's great to be at Sweetwater Sound. What a place. I've heard of this place for years. And, man, as Grandpa Jones used to say, I've been to 3 counties. I ain't never seen such. And it is really, it's amazing. And to be here tonight with Ron Mancuso and all the folks representing Gill Guitars. I've been all over the place this week. Started off in Brooklyn on Saturday, right downtown Brooklyn, and I looked over across the river and I could see the new World Trade Center. And I had written a song a few years ago. It's called A Call to Freedom. And I kept putting it off because, you know, it was a very difficult time for our country, and for me personally, everybody had a tough time by that. But I wanted to express myself, and one of my FBI buddies, John Hall, said, "Well, Doyle, you do that best with a guitar." And so I wrote this little song. It's called A Call to Freedom. And it seems like though we've had so many wars and lost so many lives, we're continuously defending that freedom. Thank you. Thank you very much. I've played 3 different things here. Of course, 2 were sort of patriotic together, that being a tribute for the 9/11 and for the folks. When I'm doing something like this, it's an expression, and so I'm trying to get out of here and through this somehow to express my feelings. And one way I do that is I always let there's always a hook. Usually when I even write a song, we won't get into songwriting tonight too much, but that was the hook. Like a distress signal, a call to freedom. Then I joined the other guys. But notice the top guy, the hook guy, the lead singer is always a little bit louder. And the other guys are like an arpeggiated sort of a background, like a piano. In fact, I've been accused of playing more like a piano player than a guitar player. And I think it's because my brother, Aubrey, every day would be practicing his piano, and I'd be listening to that. And so I would pick up that. Make those background guys really kind of fancy if you want to, They can do whatever they want to. The other guys just pretty much stay with a melody. Drop D tuning. Add a little coloration, harmonics. Good way for that. And just stop it for a second. Classical type thing, tremolo. Sorry, I didn't realize my echo was on, but it sounded pretty cool. I thought it was really nice. I don't know if I'm just the most bored acoustic guitar player in the world, but look at all these pedals I have up here. I even have one that overdrives. Because sometimes when you're playing like this, same idea. Loud melody. Simple background. Don't need much, just beautiful song. Orchestra behind you, which sometimes we do, don't we? And then it just really adds a lot. So anything that makes it sound bigger and better, I'm for it. A little echo here, a little overdrive, whatever you need, just do it. There you go. I don't use a whole lot. I mean, it's mostly me picking what you've heard here. You know, oh, you're just doing a bunch of tricks. Well, don't you say that in front of my mama now. She'll get on you. She is Martha. A while ago I said this. I call this Bubba music. Did you hear me say that? That's because Bubba was my dad, and he loved Chet Atkins and Merle Travis and all that kind of stuff. And he went on to be with the Lord. I have his picture inside my guitar here. I can look down. He's playing a Stratocaster. That's cool. We'll go with that. And so anyway. I like to look down at him and say, "How am I doing, Bubba?" I actually don't call him Bubba. I say, "How am I doing, Dad?" And one for my mama. Martha's Kitchen. Tricky. Ragtime kind of. I like that. Stole that from Chet. Little Lee. For Martha, for my mama. Yeah, you got to do it right for her. She said, "You always play my song." So that's for my mom. And tricky little thing, too. But again, it's more of a ragtime piano type thing, you know. This is a clinic tonight. Oh, yeah, now I can see the rest of you. But this is a clinic tonight, so Thad has a microphone over here, and there might be one around over here in this area. What's your name, pal? Nick? Nick has one over here. So if you have a question, anyone have a question tonight?
One right here. First hand up. Hold on.
I guess what I've been wondering for a second now, since I've been listening to your music, I saw you with Taylor and you switched to Guild. I was wondering, as a player, like, what do you feel? I mean, difference-wise.
Difference in the guitars? Well, the construction of a Taylor versus a Guild is a lot different. This is more of a traditional style with a dovetail joint, and also the lacquer finish. It breathes different. It gives a different sound. I really designed this guitar where I got a lot of ideas from being with Taylor for so many years and been just around acoustic guitars, and not only with them, but even with some old guitars that I have, some Martins and some Gibsons and different things that I've had through the years, you know. And I found some things to just really work. And so I wanted to come out with something that I could just walk out on stage and play and not have to think about anything. And so we basically took the F47, which was a Guild, since the Guild shape since the 60s, and we thinned it down. And we, made it maple. There you go. And also an Adirondack top with Adirondack bracing. And this is one thing that I just discovered in the last probably 5 or 6 years. And I had them on some of my really great guitars. And I found out that Guild's been doing this since the 60s. They put Adirondack tops on their guitars. If not all of them, the ones that are not, they still have the Adirondack bracing. And that's something I just went nuts over in the last 5 or 6 years. And so I found out through tradition, you learn a lot of things. And Ren Ferguson came on board with Guild the same time I did. Ren, of course, is very well known in the music business, and having run the Montana division for years. And with his expertise and knowledge and bringing it into, he said one thing that I'll never forget. I put it in my phone, and I'll never forget this. What was it? No, I'm just kidding. But he said, never build a guitar out of anything that doesn't already have music in it. And that was one thing that I was so impressed with him, and he's taught these guys at Guild how to pick out wood that has a certain tone. He can look at a piece of wood and tell by looking at it. It's because of his experience. And so he's really brought that into light. It has a full sound. There are a lot of differences between this and my former, signature guitar. One of the things is the pickup system. This system here is also by L.R. Baggs. It's something I've actually wanted to do for a long time because I knew the LB6 was always a great pickup. And with the hexaphonic pickup system that I also kind of co-developed with them or worked with them for 3 years before we ever put it in a guitar. Each string has its own separate pickup. Well, this too, and it's always been that way. And it was developed, was actually the first pickup Lloyd ever came out with. They called it the LB6, Lloyd Baggs 6. And it's the same pickup that Dave Matthews and Paul McCartney and James Taylor and Phil Kagi and these guys, the stadium guys, have used for years. I said, well, I want that in my guitar. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things that I've been able to do with Guild that's just been a lot of fun. And I've enjoyed it. And I'll have to say, too, I really enjoyed my time with Bob Taylor. He's still a very, very close friend of mine, and I love him like a brother, and that doesn't change. Guitars come and go, friends don't, And so, but I'm real happy to be with this company, and I think we're really onto something with this guitar. Do you like the sound of it so far? Yeah. It's really good. So I've kind of gone back to my roots in the traditional, more of a traditional style guitar. Anybody else?
We've got a question over here.
Yeah, can you talk about action and the string gauge that you use, and then your history with a thumb pick and your preference with that?
Well, string gauges are something that I have been on the lookout for some new things as well, you know. And I have something on this guitar that's very interesting that I'm trying out. And the Fender, Guild is a part of FMIC, Fender Musical Instruments Corporation. And so they want to do a whole line of accessories, you know, and cufflinks and no, I was just kidding. And I asked, it was really funny because I mentioned all these things from straps to strings to picks and all kinds of things. I said, we're going to have those little bobbin heads in the back. You kind of see a little gray-headed guy going, hey. Anyway, but I'm working with a string company. I can't talk a lot about it, but I think I'm really onto something with these strings. And it's a hybrid set, so we're actually using something. So it's a little bit different. It has a lot less noise and still a lot of punch. And yeah, you'll be hearing about it a little bit more. So we'll have some Doyle Dykes signature strings very, very soon. The other thing, picks I've used for years. Fred Kelly, you know, it's funny. What day is it? Wednesday, right? A week ago, about a week ago, I was playing for the William Morris Agency people, which is huge. I mean, Vince Gill was there. All these people were there that a lot of you would not know unless you were in the music business, but like the president of the CMA and a lot of important people. But the guy that was retiring, his name was Rick Shipp, and he's been he's been Glenn Campbell's manager or agent for years, and a lot of people. And I didn't know he was so much of a guitar guy. So they wanted to give him a guitar as a retirement. They gave him several. I mean, they gave him a couple of, like a vintage guitar, then one of the new Fender Strats, the new vintage, American vintage, and then they gave him a Doyle Dykes Guild. And so they said, and here's Doyle Dykes to play this Guild at his retirement party. And I played for him, and the first thing he said, Doyle, is that a Fred Kelly thumb pick you have on your hand? Here's the president. Now former president of a William Morris Agency, knows about a Fred Kelly pick, made just straight up in Grayling, Michigan, just straight up from here. And he says, man, I have looked for those things for years. So if they don't have them at Sweetwater, they will soon, I'll guarantee you that. But these little picks, I used to have them for a year at a time. I'd just have two of them, like they had to last a year because you couldn't hardly find them. And now he makes one just for me that has a little longer shank here. And so that's what my pick is. And I use acrylic nails. Did you ask me about my nails? I'll tell you anyway. It's a guy thing in Tennessee. In fact, Rick Shipp, the guy I'm talking about, said, yeah, I do acrylics too. It's really great. And I had no idea he was such a player, but he is. I love talking this kind of stuff. Anybody else? Yes.
Got one down here in front.
Right up here. I'm sorry, Thad.
How old were you when you started playing guitar?
Oh, my gosh. I was 11 years old, and I wish I had been 5 or 6, like my grandson. My grandson is 6 now. He's been playing a year, taking lessons for a year, and he's doing really good. He's playing some surf music, I'm really impressed, you know. And for the longest time, I'd show people, this is the best Twinkle Twinkle you have ever heard. And now listen to him play the ABC song, which is the same thing. I'm sorry, but anyway. But, yeah, I was 11 years old, and I've been at it for a long time. And you play guitar, too. How old are you? You're 11. 11 now. Wow. How long have you been playing guitar? Wow. She's been playing most all of her life. You said 3? Oh, my goodness alive. They start young, don't they? Watch out, guys. We're going to be sitting here listening to this young lady on this stage here one day, and you keep playing, and it's a lot of fun, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, we're right over here.
Is there any lesson or information that could give us some guidance on how you do the harmonics things?
With harmonics?
Yeah, you're doing. Are you picking the strings with your fingers or with your thumb, or how do you do your harmonics?
Well, yeah, you're actually, you're sort of using the tip of your finger, the flesh part of your finger, and then you're picking it with your thumb. So if I may, without any, without any fretting. You shouldn't fret anyway. That's in the Bible, fret not, right? Okay, we're going to fret not. And so you don't always see it when I'm doing this kind of stuff, because my hand hides my thumb. I'm not trying to keep you from seeing what I'm doing. You just can't see that. But if you could see it like this, my thumb is going sideways and my finger's going down to touch it at the same time. So just kind of practice it like that. And then, and that's on the 12th fret, of course. And then if you do anything down here, you have to come up 12 frets from here. So visualize an E chord. This is what I'm hitting. And do the same thing here. If you move it, only adjust for the ones that you move. And you can do something in the middle. And Chet Atkins got this when he was listening to a steel guitar player, and they do it some. Anyway, I can't do it like the steel guitar player does it, but I think I actually have a better chime than any of them. The Bells of St. Mary by Doyle Dykes. Y'all let me know when this gets annoying. Oh, thank you. Anyway, harmonics are the way that you can also tune a guitar. So we use them a lot, but when you're doing the artificial harmonics, which sounds real to me, doesn't to you? But anyway. And Chet would do this kind of thing. I didn't know a bell could bend, did you? Did you hear that bend he did? And he was just so innovative. And then Lenny Breau would come along, and Chet would do this kind of. And then Lenny Breau would do something like this. He would just stagger them, where you're actually you're doing a harmonic on a lower string, and then you're picking with like the third finger a pure tone, like a string apart. So third string has a harmonic, and the first one doesn't. And then fourth, go down to the fourth and second. And go all the way down, just a string in between, like a ninth chord. And it's usually kind of partial chords, like a minor seventh, and then a full like augmented type. And then if you stagger those, it would sound like this. And that's what Lenny brought to the table, and this kind of thing. And the pull-offs especially is what he did, yeah. And sometimes I'll take it another step and do a little, like a harmonic and then a roll. Or maybe a major seven. And that's a ninth chord. You guys hit your ninth chords backwards. Okay, I hit mine backwards. Everybody said, what chord is that? It's a ninth chord. It's the way it should be played. Because it... See? And if you're doing it like this, it's really hard to stretch that little... Makes more sense. Yeah, your little finger's right there. And a major seven, and then what about this? Put one more. And boy, that works really nice with harmonics. That's what I was doing on What a Friend, the old hymn, What a Friend, that we have in Jesus. That's what I was doing with that. Any other questions? Is this fun? Do y'all like doing this stuff? Okay.
Would you mind doing a gospel blues type of number, a few licks on that, from easy to more
Gospel
difficult?
blues, does that even go together? Gospel blues. That's sort of a paradox, isn't it? Because I've always said, you know, if I'm just too happy to play the blues for one thing. I really try to play the blues sometime, but it's just like, you know. It's like happy birthday. It's the same thing. Yeah, gospel blues. Let's see. When I'm sad, to him I go. No other friend could cheer me so. Praise his holy, holy name. He's so wonderful. I guess I can. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Years ago when I first started playing acoustic guitar, I'd been playing electric for years. I'd already been playing a long time, but I started doing things on the acoustic guitar, and everybody's, next thing you know, I was getting written up in magazines and stuff, and it's just the same old stuff I've been doing, you know, but nobody paid any attention to it, you know. Sort of B3 organ, it kind of said. Let those ring out. Don't touch those first, too. Another way of doing harmonics is with both hands. Watch this. I love that. Isn't that cool? Didn't know that worked, but it does. Again. You don't do that, okay? and backup thing. Throw some Jerry Reed. Chet Atkins kind of. Yeah, I like that. All right. Yeah, that's fun. That's called Jazz in the Box, and it's just doing Telecaster. I started writing that on a Telecaster, and then I finished on acoustic guitar. I thought, I can do that on an acoustic guitar, and so I started doing these bends. And by the way, the Guild guitar with the F47 I was playing, they're really kind of close together, you know. Most guys don't do this, but I put different keys on my F47 because I played it all last year, recorded with it. It's a great guitar. But on my, this is the new Doyle Dykes signature model, of course, and so they spaced these apart further so I could get in there. And if you do that, make sure, talking about strings, make sure you wind these things around and cut them off where they don't stick you. Because you'll cry like a girl. Pardon, I'm sorry I said that. But I don't care how big a boy you are or a girl. It hurts. It does. So anyway, any questions about any of that? Yes.
I got one right
over
here.
here, Thad.
Yeah, Doyle, I'd like to thank you for coming here again. I think it's the third time I think I've seen you here in Fort Wayne.
Well,
but
thanks.
I just love hearing the Chet Atkins style, and I've been down to CAS, the Chet Atkins Appreciation Society, which I know I've seen you down there a few times down in Nashville.
I have, yes.
That's a great thing, like 3 or 4 days of Chet Atkins style playing. And every time I go, or every time I hear you or someone like you, I go, boy, I really like to play like that. And then I go home and I pick up my guitar and I'll try it a little bit. Pretty soon I'm back to using a regular flat pick and playing my rock stuff like I always do. So I guess my question is, I know practice is probably the answer. What would you recommend for some old guy like me that would like to learn how to play like that without getting discouraged, I guess?
Well, there are a lot of things on the internet these days. You know, I didn't have that when I was growing up. I didn't understand it either. I was trying to, I would try to play like. I'd do those little licks. I couldn't figure it out. And there was a guy that came to my church, and he was a sailor, and we call him Barry the Sailor. And he went to my dad and said, "Mr. Dykes, can I play your guitar?" And sure. I mean, way back in the day before you saw guitars in churches, we had them at our church, you know. But again. He was doing this. And I darted over to my mama. Remember Martha's Kitchen? There's a reason I call that song Martha's Kitchen. She can still cook, let me tell you. And I knew a sailor was not going to refuse a good home-cooked meal, so I said, "Can we have him over for dinner?" Now, at our house, it was breakfast, dinner, and supper, so I knew we'd have him for the whole day. And we did, and he showed me a few little things, and one of those things, he would explain that your thumb, you know, if you can just think about playing rhythm, you know, like if you played rhythm guitar for somebody and you do the bass, you know, 1, 5, 1, just like a bass player, and then you strum the chord. Well, reduce that down to just your thumb and free these guys up, you know. And sometimes if you mute it, it separates the sound of it. Otherwise, it would sound. In other words, that lead singer's got to sing, Now, you don't do that on everything in fingerpicking. You wouldn't do that on Dust in the Wind, Here's the Chet style with the muted. Well, that's kind of cool, I guess. But typically on folk music, you just let them all run together. You know what I mean? But you just reduce that to your thumb, and that part is your strum. So as and if you're on a different chord, like a bass, you wouldn't, on your bass, if you went on a G, you would go. And you do the same. And when you change chords, you go back to that. Well, he showed me a little pattern that I don't have time to get into, but it was like this. And I lost contact with him for over 30 years. And everybody said that I thought had anything to do with him because he went into the ministry. I think, well, we think he passed away. And I had for years tried to find Barry the Sailor. And I said, Lord, if he's still around, let him find me. And I was in a place that was completely a different part of the country than what I was looking, because he was from St. Louis. And my daughter went up to me after I'll never forget it. I was at Paul Huber's place up in Grayling or Fraser, Michigan. And my daughter said, "You're not going to believe who's here." And I turned around, and there's Barry the Sailor. And he had given up on playing, got real discouraged, and went to school. And years ago, the professor said, you're not going to ever amount to anything if you don't put that guitar down. And he got so discouraged, and he quit playing for over 30 years. And he was in a music store in Ann Arbor, and he reached in the bottom. Are y'all interested in this? I actually wrote about it in my book. I wrote a book. You have to buy your own crayons, but still, it's a pretty good book. Mama says it's a good book. So anyway, you reach down to the very bottom, and he saw top 100 finger-style guitar of 2000. And I was in it. It was a Mel Bay book, and I was in it. I think Jazz in the Box, the song I played a while ago, was in that. And sure enough, I had mentioned him because they always had a little interview, and I mentioned him in the interview. And he's going, "Oh, my Lord." And then he looked on the internet and found out that I was going to be in his area, and came out and saw me. And we figured it out that it was the same week and probably the same day that I had thrown that stuff. I said, let him find me, because it was 3 weeks before when that happened to me and when it happened to him. And he was in my concert this past Sunday night and in Canandaigua, New York. He and his wife drove all the way down. Well, they have folks down there, but they drove all the way down there to see me. So I still get to see Barry. I gave him the guitar I was playing that night. I had to borrow a guitar the next night. I gave him my amplifier. Yeah, that guy meant more to me than just anybody. It was an amazing, amazing thing. And as far as saying what I just said too, how hard is it for us to go show another young person something on a guitar and spend a few minutes with them, And it's not that difficult to be able to take out your guitar. If they really want to learn something, and show them how to do that, Nowadays, there are a lot of things on the internet that you can find, and a lot of videos and DVDs that you can slow down. And so I'd look for everything I can find. Tom Bresch has some great things, And the different. Are there any other questions right now? Or you want me to show you the difference between Merle Travis and Chet Atkins?
Got one right down here.
Okay, I'll do that right after this question right here.
I've always enjoyed your song. I think it's called Twin Six Shooters.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a studio song? Can you do some of that tonight? Or
Oh, Lord, I hadn't done that in a while. Let's see. He wants to hear Twin Six Shooter, so. The mic stand helps it. I missed a few, but yeah, that was a studio trick. You know, we are at Sweetwater. They have plenty of studio tricks around here. Let me tell you that. No, that was Jeff did all that. It's just somebody else's back here. Anyway, but no, it's just banjo kind of stuff. And I had several runs in one when I was playing them. First of all, when I was back in Jacksonville years ago, Jacksonville, Florida, you know, you'd write these. See your Cadillac dealer. You know, but if you were going to do like a commercial, we'd write those little local commercials. If you're going to do one on trucks, this is. You got to have that low boom, 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 and so that's the lead line. And I actually got that from listening to Dwayne Eddy. By the way, another thing on my guitar, we'll just mention little things here and there because you'll forget them if I say them all at one time, but maybe like this. Dwayne Eddy G. They don't do that anymore. That was off the Dwayne, because it's one solid G, and that was off his guitar out of the 60s. They got, we thought, destroyed in the flood. And I was at Guild, and I said, man, what a shame. That's the first time I was ever on. I was on the Grand Ole Opry with him. And he played that guitar, and it was with Chet Atkins. And what did he do? He brought his old Guild, and he played that. And I said, I was just heartbroken. That guitar was just, they said, we have it. He went in the next room, and they completely restored that old Guild guitar. And it was this color because it's old, and and after restoring it too, it just kind of came out this nice. I said, I want my guitar that color right there. And so there you go. And I got the Dwayne 80G. So Dwayne's my friend. So this all of So that's what that whole lead line is, And the other part, it goes to an F. It's an A minor, just bouncing off A minors. Now F, that's a little Chet thing. Second position F. Third, the whole thing. Second position F would be here. Reduce that down here. Use your first string to bounce off. It's a finger picking thing. And so it goes F, and then the E, Well, you have to do something to counteract that, so. And then I use this as an anchor. I don't ever move that guy. If I do, I am in trouble because I get a lot of notes there. You got to have an anchor guy, and that's him right there. Because I'm going from a F to an A minor. So here he is. And so I'm bouncing off open strings. And so fretted, open, fretted, open, fretted. Like a banjo. And that's a lick. That's a lick that I made up years ago. And then here's I don't know where I got that, probably Chet. Bounce off the first string. And then the second part is even harder. That's the easy one. Here's the second part. And when you change to that, it goes back to A minor. F, A minor. So they're just a bunch of runs, like banjo runs. And you're using open strings. So, it pays to know a little bit about banjo picking. And so that's what I did. Just put that on the guitar. Any other questions about anything? That's a good one. Yes. Say that again? Oh, yeah. This is a Fender. And I used, for years, I used Zayola cables that there were Sterling. Boys, anything Sterling silver is going to really be expensive now. They were a $300 guitar cable back then. And, so the guys said, well, try the Fender cables. I said, okay. And they sound great. They sound really good. In fact, I was honestly surprised. I thought, man, these guys have it together. But then I thought, well, they're Fender. My goodness, they ought to be good, and they are. And so I use these all the time. So that, as we call it, the ironing board cord. If you're like me, you have a lot of experience with ironing. No, my wife wouldn't let me touch that. Believe me, that's one thing that she says, I'm going to handle that. I know whatever. Yes, sir. And I messed up there, didn't I? Sorry. He was asking me what kind of cable. Did you say it over the mic? He was asking me what kind of guitar cable I was using, and they're the Fender cables. Yes.
When you work in the studio with this guitar now, are you plugging straight into the board and making the noise that way, or are you miking it up as you have it here on stage?
Well,
or are you using a microphone without the electronics in the guitar?
I would like to start doing more what I do in the studio, and I'm not doing that yet. And to be honest with you, when I get around Ron and these guys, we just have so much fun. I don't even think about it. And I kept thinking all week, next time I get in a really nice room, which this is pretty rock star, I'm telling you, I don't know of any place I played any better than this room here at Sweetwater, honestly. And I played in halls around the world. This is amazing, absolutely amazing. But when I'm on stage, typically, I don't mic my guitar, and I should more. I like to walk around and move around too much. But on some things, I'm going to start using the microphone. Tonight would have been a great night to do that because Jeff is such a professional, and I would have had the best here with me, and I just didn't think about it. Typically on stage, I have a pedal board that I like to use, and it's mostly I have a little reverb, and it's not on a whole lot tonight. And it's such a live room, and then I'll use an old delay for a little bit of a slapback. You can barely hear it, but it's barely on. But you can hear it a little bit of a sort of a, what do you call it, rockabilly kind of a slapback. You know, sometimes I use more of that. But I leave it on all the time because it adds dimension. And but I'll turn it up and then get the like this. Sound like Kermit. Even at that, I like that dimension it gives. And sometimes I'll put another. You know, and it's just a little bit, it's just a slow, and sometimes I like to do tunings. I like to use two amplifiers, two Fenders. I have a Blackface reissue 65 Deluxe, which I have several of these amplifiers. I have a 64 original and a 65 original at home. And I just love these amplifiers. I use them in the studio. That's another thing. But we mic this with an SM57. We mic that one, and that gives you that warmth, you know, that I feel in this room here. Besides the people, I like the tube. But y'all are warm too. And then the Acoustasonic is real lightweight. You can pick it up like this. Real lightweight amplifier. And the Deluxe is not very heavy either, really. But this one is just so light. But I like to pair them together. And we're working on a new amp too, by the way. But this is my favorite that I've used. I said, as far as I'm concerned, this is really cool. And it still gives you a nice, if you want to crank the bass up a little bit and go with a lower tuning. Thank you. Thank you. And that's with a little bit of reverb, just a tad of echo, and then and these amplifiers, and that warmth that you feel comes from those tubes, I think. Yeah. Yes.
Got a question. Hold on just a second.
Sorry, Thad.
Could you tell us how you get into using alternative tunings? Do you take and learn the scales, like the pentatonic scales and stuff in those tunings?
Yeah, mostly the chords. There's a scale for every chord, so I always learn the chord and play that around the chord. Yeah, and it's easier that way. Because when you're playing this, I mean, it's usually for your bass anyway. You're not doing a lot of runs except on your top 4 strings, you know. And when you're, and by the way, this is a little bit shorter scale guitar. It's not as short as guitars, shorter scales I've had before, but it's, instead of 25 and a half, it's 25 and a quarter. And so when you're doing it, you can hear every note. And I say the reason you hear every note because I'm not just trying to squeeze them out where I can't hardly get them on my left hand. It's easier because they're, even at standard pitch, a shorter scale is just a little bit looser. And these are 11 and a half. You can feel the difference between 11 and a half and a 12. 11 and a half, 15, 23, I believe on this, and 30. 42 and 54 on the gauge of strings. And I can still do those low tunings really nice. Yeah. Yes, we have one over here.
That's a beautiful guitar. It sounds awesome, but I know
Thank
you
you.
have a 12 back there. Do you play a 12 very often? 12 string?
Yeah, you know, I always do it at the end because I usually run out of time, and I figure if I do it on the 12 string, it comes out twice as fast, so. Yeah, I love the 12 string. I really do. It's 8:23. We're getting down there, aren't we? Okay. Well, Thad, let me say this. Ron, come up here. I'm going to switch guitars. Ron Mancuso, give him a hand for being here. We'd like for you to say something if you want to talk about the other guilds too and the new Orpheums or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, you'll see coming through Guild, you know, Doyle had mentioned before that we have Ren Ferguson that came on board with us, you know, as well as Doyle. Ren Ferguson was given a challenge. You know, Guild wasn't around in the 1930s, but what happened when he came on, he said, you know, I have a recipe for guitars that I'd like to bring. And they asked him, they said, if Guild guitars were built in the 1930s, what would they be like? So Ren put together this Orpheum series guitar, which you'll see here at Sweetwater shortly. They're starting to come about right now. I think a few of them went out earlier this week. So, and when you look at them, they look like guitars that were built in the 30s. They're all built completely by hand. They use hide glue. There's, you know, all nitrocellulose lacquer that's in there. Just a lot of care. And the design in it is as if Guild was building guitars in the 30s. When you play them, they just blow you away. You can actually just hold it and hold the strings. And if people are talking around the guitar, you can feel all of that vibration inside the guitar. They're just very lively. One thing I've noticed with Guild more than anything is, like what Doyle was saying, the definition that's in that guitar, it really gives you a good voice because it's very balanced. You hear every note that comes out of the guitar. It doesn't get muddy. It doesn't get real trebly. It's just very, very balanced. So it's a joy just to be able to hold them, play them. And when you find an instrument like that, I want you to play even more. You know, and that's what I found with Guilds. So just keep looking. There's Guilds that start in the price range of the $450, $500, all the way up through, you know, $12,000. You know, if you want to go that high in them. But you know, just the Guild GAD or GAD series, Guild Acoustic Designs, which are mirrored images of the hand-built U.S. guitars. and the United States guitars that are built in Hartford, Connecticut. And you can go to Hartford and take a trip through the plant so that you can see how they actually build these guitars in all the workshops.
You want to answer some questions or anything? Anybody, you have a question for Ron?
It's a big jacket.
Okay. Well, I definitely don't want to keep you guys too long tonight. Let me say that recently I was in Texas, and I was at a friend of mine's church playing for Easter. His name was Del Way. And he said, Doyle, I'm working on a record. We're doing our vocals here. And he had a nice little studio set up there. And Dell's a recording artist as well. And he's a phenomenal guy. And in fact, I think he sent me a text today. He said, do good tonight at Sweetwater. And so I hope I've done good. I hope But Dell's a wonderful guy. But we were talking. I said, man, this is a great little setup. Where'd you get it? Oh, man, this all came from Sweetwater. And I'm in Kerrville, Texas, in the hill country. It's beautiful over there. And I started my book in his cabin that he has over there. It's owned by their church, but he said, just hang out there for a while. And I started a book called The Lights of Marfa. And a couple of nights later, my daughter Haley and I went over to Marfa, Texas, and we saw these lights that look a lot like these. They start off and they start dancing, and no one can explain where they come from, but they're there. Sometimes you can't explain. I was looking, how in the world did such a business that got started as a software for sounds grow into this? I don't know that they could even explain that. You know, I know they're smart. They have to be brilliant people. But at the same time, I think it's meant to be here to help people like Dell. And 2 days later, I was at Eric Johnston's studio. I've been recording a Christmas record, so I have Christmas trees still in my guitar studio. So Merry Christmas. And I've been working hard at this, and I put a lot of medleys together, and I've already got dates for this year in England, Christmas dates, so I better get busy on this. We're going to release this thing. But when I was talking to Eric was in Europe, so he gives me full reign when he's not around. He said, man, just use the studio. He's just a good friend. And you can't believe how many times the name Sweetwater came up at Eric's place, too. And so what a blessing you guys have been to a lot of people that have home studios and also professional studios. And we really, what a joy and a privilege, really, honestly, it is to be here tonight and to see this for myself. I want to play a song that I took my mother over to. You thought, boy, he's a mama's boy. Yes, I am. I tell you what. She's 85 now. And I got on to her the other day. I said, Mama, you can't keep cutting your grass on that riding lawnmower. And so she promised me this year she wouldn't do that. There's alligators in her backyard. So anyway, tough lady, let me tell you. And so recently we went over to my old neighborhood and went to the little elementary school around the corner. I said, Mom, you remember taking me to school every morning, that old red Ford Fairlane? Yeah, I remember you used to chase me home every day too. I'd look in my rearview mirror, Mama. I said, I wasn't but 17, give me a break. So we went around the corner, not far from there. It seemed like a long ways. It was actually about a mile from my house. I walked it every day, and it was junior high school. And I said, she says, I remember when you won your trophy there for most talented. I said, I still have that trophy. Oh, you do not. I do. It's that big. It says most talented, Doyle Dykes. She says, I remember what you played. Classical gas. I said, well, I did my best, because if you could play any part of it, you were cool. And if you couldn't play the guitar. You know, that's just the way it was. And then we went around to my high school, and I said, I remember playing in the jazz band. We did 25 or 64. So I thought, well, why not? Thank you so much. Let's hear it for Gil Guitars tonight. Thad, thanks so much for having me at Sweetwater tonight. Thanks, Ronny Mancuso. Gil Guitars, God bless y'all. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Keep it going for Doyle Dykes.